Day 2015 celebrations, which reflected our firm commitment to building a united, peaceful and prosperous Africa. We reiterate the call by our President Jacob Zuma to all South African institutions and companies to fly the African Union flag with the South African flag. And this is in keeping with the need to embrace the vision of a united, peaceful and prosperous Africa. Cabinet yesterday want to remind all South Africans and foreign nationals traveling with children that the Passport and Travel Documents Act will come into effect from the 1st of June 2015. Under this new legislation, parents who are traveling with children under the age of 18 years are required to produce their unabridged birth certificate. This is part of our government's commitment to safeguard the interest of children and to prevent child trafficking. Some of the key decisions of Cabinet. Cabinet approved the National Learner Transport Policy, which provides guidelines in providing effective, efficient and safe learner public transport services. Its implementation will result in an integrated learner transport services that provides the standards of the kind of vehicles to be used and the traffic structures for the usage of scholar traffic transport services. This policy is also aligned with the South African Schools Act of 1996. Cabinet also approved the submission of South Africa's 1994 to 2014 report on the progress in the implementation of the African Charter on the African Union Heads of State Solemn Declaration on Gender Equality in Africa to the AU Secretariat. This report is in preparation for the African Union Heads of State Summit that is going to be held here on our soil in June of this year. This report covers the period from 1994 to 2014 and assesses and evaluates the effectiveness of our laws, our policies and programs that were developed to increase representation of women, provision of basic services, job creation and poverty reduction, eradication of violence and the protection of human rights of women as well as girls. Cabinet also approved the National Youth Policy 2020. This policy replaces the National Youth Policy 2009 to 2014, which has since expired. This policy was developed after a very extensive consultation process with the youth of our country from all 9 provinces. It will form the basis for the development of an integrated youth development strategy. Cabinet was also briefed on the progress being made in the setting up of the Property Management Trading Entity, PMTE. This entity will ensure efficiencies and cost effectiveness in the management of the state property portfolio. Cabinet is also satisfied with the development and refinement of this PMTE business model, which will improve the quality of all public buildings. Cabinet also further approved the secondment of Mr. Sirote to serve as head of the PMTE, Mr. Govender as head of facilities and real estate management, and Ms. Matthews as head of real estate registries services. Upcoming events. Our country, as we all know, will host the AU Summit Head of State at the Sentin Convention Center from the 7th to the 15th of June this year, under the theme Year of Women Empowerment and Development towards Africa's Agenda 2063. The week's activities will conclude with the Assembly of Heads of State from the 14th to 15 June 2015. The Republic of Zimbabwe, President Mugabe, as chair of the AU for 2015, will chair the summit and its related meetings. It will focus on the implementation of all decisions taken at the January 2015 summit, which includes Agenda 2063 and its first 10-year implementation plan, the state of continental peace and security, including terrorism, women's empowerment and development, alternative sources of funding, the AU, continental integration, and operationalizing the African Center for Disease Control and Prevention here in Africa. Our President Zuma will attend the inauguration of Nigeria's President-elect Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja in Nigeria, 29 May 2015, which is tomorrow. The World Economic Forum on Africa will take place here in Cape Town from the 3rd to the 5th of June under the theme, Then and Now, Reimagining Africa's Future. Cabinet welcomes all political and business leaders across the African continent and other parts of the world as the meeting marks 25 years of change in Africa. South Africa looks forward to participating in the discussions on accelerating inclusive growth and development in our continent. Africa remains one of the fastest growing regions in the world and is an attractive investment destination. Our Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa, as the chair of the South African National AIDS Council, will address the opening of the 7th South African AIDS Conference at the Inkosi Albert Luthuli International Convention Center in Durban from the 9th to the 12th of June 2015 under the theme Reflection, Refocus and Renewal. This conference, which is held every 2 years, has become a barometer for government and all South Africans to track advances that are being made in controlling HIV infections. It also provides an opportunity for our people working with HIV and AIDS, sexually transmitted infections, and tuberculosis to share their experiences and insights. Our country, South Africa, has the largest antiretroviral program in the world, with 3 million people on ARVs as of December 2014. This has significantly contributed to reducing new HIV infections and mortality from AIDS and has ensured child survival and prolonged life. Diligent planning is a major part of the success of this flagship program, which ensures adequate availability of ARVs at every public health facility. Our country, through the Department of Science and Technology, has been investing in HIV research for many, many years. This investment in HIV research began in 1999 when, together with the Department of Health, government established the South African AIDS Vaccine Initiative. By 2009, the Department of Science and Technology support for HIV research was expanded to include other interventions such as diagnostics, ARVs, microbicides, in addition to vaccines. We have created the South African HIV Research and Innovation Platform, called SHAP, to fund pioneering HIV and AIDS research and facilitate the development of innovative solutions to this epidemic. We are currently supporting a number of HIV-related projects at various stages of development through a program called the Strategic Health Innovation Partnership, which incorporates SHAP under the auspices of the South African Medical Research Council. The role of this program is to facilitate the interaction of South African HIV and AIDS researchers and to create a national network of collaborating research centers in HIV and AIDS. Currently, a number of multi-institutional, multidisciplinary product development projects covering diagnostics, vaccines, and microbicides are being pursued to advance the objectives of SHAP. Our country attaches particular importance to the fight against HIV and AIDS, with prevention at the heart of our country's National Strategic Plan for HIV, STIs, and TB from 2012 to 2016. Next month in June, our country will also celebrate key environmental days led by the Department of Environmental Affairs on the 5th of June, which we are going to be celebrating the World Environmental Day in Kimberley in Northern Cape. The World Oceans Day on the 8th of June will be hosted in Bloemfontein in Free State with various partners in the implementation of Operation Pakiza's Oceans Economy, sharing information with local communities about opportunities in the oceans economy and related areas. On the 17th of June, our country will celebrate the World Day to combat desertification in Ngutu village in KwaZulu-Natal. All these key environmental days are aimed at heightening public awareness about the environment while also exposing our young people in the host provinces of all opportunities in this particular sector. The COMESA, EAC and SADC Tripartite Free Trade Area, the TFTA, will be launched on the 10th of June 2015 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. The TFTA will create a market of 26 countries with a combined population of over 625 million and the GDP of over $1 trillion. This launch signifies the conclusion of the negotiations on the Free Trade Agreement, which sets rules and a framework within which tariff preferences and other commitments will be implemented. Negotiations on tariffs and rules of origin will continue as part of the built-in agenda. The launch of the TFTA is a very significant milestone for the African continent and is rooted in the AU Lagos Plan of Action and the Abuja Treaty, which aim to establish the African Economic Community. We believe that this will send a very powerful message that the continent of Africa is committed to its economic integration agenda and is creating a conducive environment for trade and investment. The negotiations towards this tripartite free trade area was launched in June 2011 in a summit that was hosted by our own President Zuma in Sandton here in South Africa. The launch of negotiations for the Continental FTA at the AU Summit will also take place in June of this year. The launch of this Continental Free Trade Agreement, the CFTA negotiations by the AU Summit will take place on the 15th of June in Johannesburg. The CFTA will create a market of over 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP of over $2 trillion. It will build on the tripartite free trade area and progress achieved in the regional economic communities. It will also give traders and investors access to a growing market and provide a basis for enhanced inter-trade area. Appointments. All appointments, as usual, are subject to verification of qualifications and relevant clearance. Representatives from the Department of Public Enterprises to the Special Economic Zones Advisory Board at DTI, Ms. Jackie Molisane, Designate Member, Ms. Nonsigelelo Rose Mbono, Alternate Member, Dr. Cassius Lubisi, Director General in the Presidency and Cabinet Secretary. His 5-year contract has been renewed. Mr. Christopher Kobla-Gavo has been appointed as Valuer General in the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform. That ends our briefing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. We'll take questions, colleagues. I'm not sure whether Pretoria, you want to start, or there's nothing from Pretoria.
Start that side. No, there's nothing for now.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you. Bonga Dulane from ENCA News. Minister, South Africa right now is being implicated in the whole FIFA situation scandal. Have the US officials made known to you who are the South Africans involved in this scandal? Number two, when did you first learn about it? And now that you know, what will government do about it? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Mine speaks more to the actual cabinet statement. Regarding the Africa Day celebrations, the President said in Mamelodi that Africans were, if I quote him correctly, fully free and having fun until they arrived, and he didn't want to say who they were. Did he provide any clarity to you or to Cabinet on who the they were that he was referring to? Secondly, on the Passports and Travel Documents Act, what does government foresee the impact to be on our tourism industry, positive or negative? And finally, how was it decided that Bloemfontein hosts the Ocean Conference and Mutu the desertification conference? I mean, I go to Bloemfontein often, sir, and the closest ocean is the Allemanskraal Dam. And the last time I went to Mutu, it was the last place in South Africa that had a problem with desertification.
Oh, okay, Marianne. Oh, yes, sorry.
Jan Gerber, Media 24. On Tuesday, the Portfolio Committee on Communications heard that obtained a legal opinion that Minister Faith Mutambi contravened the Broadcasting Act by interference in the SABC board. Did the Cabinet discuss this at all? Thanks.
Hi, Marianne Merton, Independent Newspapers. Quick follow-up on the child unabridged travel requirements. It's a fairly old issue, but in terms of the contestation between tourism and Home Affairs and possibly even police, at this stage, has Cabinet at all discussed child trafficking itself? Because the regulations are meant to be about preventing child trafficking. Do we have stats and figures? What is going to be the impact? Thank you.
Wyndham Hartley from Business Day. Minister, did Cabinet discuss Police Minister Nathi Nhleko's report on Nkandla?
Lula Mamaja, SABC. Follow-up, Minister, on the unabridged birth certificates. Has the government done an assessment as to how's the response from parents applying for the unabridged birth certificates?
Thanks. I think that's it, Minister.
On FIFA, was also part of the local organizing committee. When you recall, Sepp Blatter, the president of FIFA, at the end of the 2010 World Cup, which was reputed at that time as the best ever, excellent World Cup, he gave us, I think, 8 or 9 out of 10. But coming to the issue that came yesterday, Ernst & Young is a reputed company, auditing firm. When we concluded the FIFA World Cup here in South Africa, we got a clean audit report. So what came yesterday, I think the due process will take place, and I understand my colleague, Minister Mbalula, the Minister of Sport, will issue a statement into this matter. But as far as we are concerned, as former members of the LOC, there was a clean audit report. There's never been any suggestion that anything untoward happened in South Africa. On the issue of the passport, we'll recall that President appointed the Interministerial Committee on Migration. So all aspects of migration is being subjected to that committee. But insofar as this unabridged birth certificate for children, the main aim is to ensure that we prevent child trafficking. That's the major concern that government has had. Why Bloemfontein and Ngutu? We've got more than a 2,000-kilometer coastline in South Africa. So the benefit of the ocean's economy must not only be to those who are in the shoreline, but also those in inland, because we are a unitary state in our country. So that's the answer to you, sir. We did not discuss the Broadcasting Act and the legal opinion from Parliament. I think the appropriate forum will be the Speaker and those who are involved here in Parliament. Report on Nkandla, yes, Cabinet has discussed that, and the Minister of Police will be providing that report to Parliament, which is the appropriate forum to report on that matter. On the assessment, as I've said, the IMC on migration is dealing with this matter. But as I've said, the main preoccupation or focus is to prevent child trafficking in our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Pretoria, you're still okay because we're closing now?
We do have a question.
Okay.
Good morning, Minister and everyone in Cape Town. I'm Mohamed Mahoma from Independent Newspapers. Minister, we see that Cabinet has endorsed the appointment of the Valuer General. What is the status of readiness of his office? In other words, is the office of the Valuer General up and running in terms of processing any claims, or not really claims, but if government is trying to there's land that is trying to inquire, does this mean that the appointment means the office is up and running for that purpose? Thanks.
Is that all, Pediswa?
That's all. That's
Okay, thank you. And this. Yeah.
My name is Duwasa from the SABC. Minister, did the Cabinet discuss the resignation of Mr. Nxasana? And are you at liberty to tell us the terms of his resignation and if his the person who will take over from him is going to be announced anytime soon. Thank you.
Thanks.
Minister, on the learner transport, what are you looking at? I mean, we don't have safe, reliable transport in this public transport in this country. In any case, so where are you going to get safe transport for learners?
Minister Rahima Isop from EWN. The Speaker mentioned that the reason for the delay in bringing the report to Parliament was because other ministries were giving their input on the report. Can you give us an indication on how many departments had provided input on this report? And you said that the matter was discussed in Parliament, in Cabinet rather. Just give us an indication of what the discussions revolved around.
Mike Cohen from Bloomberg News. Minister, you said that due process will take place regarding the FIFA allegations. Will South Africa be instituting its own investigation into this issue? If so, who would be running such an investigation? Have you been in contact with the US officials at all with regard to the allegations being made? And then just lastly, there was a story today about Petra SA that the chief executive and two other senior officials have been asked to step down. Petra SA. Did that matter be raised at Cabinet? Was that matter raised at Cabinet at all? And are you aware of this? Could you confirm? Thanks.
Just a follow-up, Minister. When you're saying that LOC, according to you, ran a clean and Ernst & Young gave you a clean bill of health, but there's allegations from US from last that $10 million worth of money was funneled so that South Africa could be given the World Cup in 2010. Are you disputing that? Are you saying that, according to you, you have no knowledge of that? Thank you.
I think that's all, Minister, for today.
Velo General Office is up and running. As you'll recall, Minister Nkwinti, more than a month ago, after the promulgation and the coming into effect of the shifting of the closeout date for lodgement of claims, it was launched with pomp and ceremony here on the corridors of Parliament. So as far as we're concerned, all those who are dissatisfied about the land program in South Africa, the Velo General is there to assist. We did not discuss the issue of the NPA and the National Prosecuting Authority in Nxasane. On learner transport, the details will be forthcoming from the Department of Transport, because the main aim is to ensure that our children have adequate, safe transport to institutions of learning. I will not be able to give details about the issue of that I've already indicated. The matter is before Parliament about the report on Nkandla, and the Minister of Police, as I understand, maybe today or tomorrow, will be issuing a comprehensive statement on this particular matter. On FIFA, as I've said, as far as the former LOC is concerned, there was a clean audit report from Ernst & Young with profit that was handed over to SAFA. That's why the new headquarters in Soweto was built. But as a country, we are going to be ensuring that we collaborate with those who are making this allegation. So as I've said, Minister Mbalula will be giving a statement in this particular regard. I have no knowledge about Petro SA at this moment because Cabinet never discussed the matter.
Thank you, Minister. I think we've come to the end. Say that the Department of Transport will give more details on this. Our main aim is to ensure that our children are transported safely to institutions of learning, because education is the future for all.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We've come to the end of the briefing.
Let me wrap. That was the Minister in the Presidency, Jeff Radebe, giving you a breakdown from the Cabinet briefing. And there was a number of issues. The unabridged certificates, a major one that he discussed, scholar transport, youth policy 2020, and HIV/AIDS, as well as FIFA, the FIFA probe into allegations of bribery and corruption. But here back home, the businessman, Toki Sogwale, says that he is confident that the 2010 FIFA World Cup was legally awarded to South Africa.